So guys, I don't know if you know this. I went to ASU in 2017 for aerospace engineering. And before I actually went to grad school, I had to sign up for like a bunch of undergrad courses because I never took engineering. I only took physics when I was in college. In fact, my college didn't offer any engineering courses. So when I went to ASU, not only did I have to sign up for grad school 500 level courses, but I also had to sign up for some upper level undergrad courses. And when I got there, I don't know why they did this, but when I moved to ASU, they had automatically put me into a dormitory with other undergrad students. So most of the people that I was surrounded with were 18 years old. My RA was younger than me. My RA was like a junior, but I was a grad school student. I was getting told what to do by some like 20-year-old. Now, I'm not saying I was any wiser or smarter than they were, but in the terms of street smarts, guys, in the terms of experiencing an entire college education, making all the mistakes, figuring out how to study, figuring out how to manage college classes, manage a social life in college, I'd already done all that. I didn't have any friends that were also in grad school. I was only making friends with undergrad students. And not only that, but when I was in my undergrad courses, I was really struggling because I'd never taken an engineering course before. I was trying to like visit like TA hours or get extra tutoring on the side because like that's what you do when you're in college. If you don't figure something out, you can't just like chat GPT or Google Gemini everything because then you don't learn anything. Also, AI didn't exist back then. So after class one day, after like a month, I went up to my teacher and I was like, hey, I'm really struggling with this content. I'm wondering if you have any recommendations for what I can do or if you have office hours or whatever. And the teacher, dead ass, no joke, said to me, I'm having a hard time with that question. I didn't say anything, but I was like, what? What do you mean you're having a hard time with that question? She goes, I'm wondering because how did you even get into this course? And then like I heard like literally I heard like an IRL Vine boom. That honestly was like probably one of the low points of my life because like about halfway through the semester, I decided that I didn't want to do this. And I basically just like played League of Legends for like 2 months straight and like didn't go to like most of my classes except for my graduate level math course, which by the way, take a big bite of cereal. In my only graduate course that I had, I got a B+. I got a D in one of my courses and then like a C in a different one or something. But guys, that's the name of the game. The things that I had to do for engineering anyway was just sitting on a computer and plugging in data and like computationally modeling things. But like, why sit at a computer and computationally enter data when you could sit at a computer and talk to a camera? Big difference there, guys. Huge upgrade if you ask me. There was one engineering course that I showed up to so little that on the day of the final, I woke up and like I'd probably been playing League of Legends all night the night before, but I woke up and I went to the classroom to take the final and I walked in and I sat down. And for anyone that has social anxiety, what I'm about to say is like would be your worst nightmare. And I sat next to an exam. It was in like a manila envelope and I took it out and I started taking it. And I noticed the professor was like looking at me. No joke, he was doing this to me. He was going, like he was like looking at me like that off and on. And then I saw him get up and go whisper to a TA. I just heard him go like, juba jabba, juba jabba. And finally, after like his little conversation with the TA, he walked over to me slowly and he goes, are you in this class? And I was like, yes. He had like a list of students and he said, can you point to your name here? And I pointed to my name. He just starts laughing. He goes, I recognize that name, which basically meant you're the kid that never showed up to class. Like, that's what he was saying. Long story short, grad school, I hated it. It was only exacerbated by the fact that I was thrown into a dormitory with only 18-year-olds. The reason why I'm telling you that, guys, it all ties together. It's like a spider web. Is because after I got out of grad school, I did not know what I wanted to do. That was only worsened by the fact that I just like played League of Legends for a month. And I started to go like actually a little insane because I was like, bro, what am I doing with my life? But then my now sister-in-law recommended to me. She goes, you should try doing Teach for America. And I'm like, what is that? And she says, it's like a teaching program for competent, good teachers in very low income areas across the United States. And so I applied for that. Like after like a month application, I remember doing like an interview process. I had to do like a 5-minute mini lesson and I did it on how kinetic energy converts to different types of energies. Like no joke, I practiced my 5-minute lesson like 50 times. But I got accepted into Teach for America, which by the way, Ezra Miller from Vampire Weekend also did Teach for America. In order to train you, they give you a 5-week crash course where we all go live in dorms together. It's all a bunch of early 20s that just graduated college. We teach for like 4 hours a day, or like 2 classes a day, and then we go learn about how to teach for the rest of the day. It was like 12-hour days. And like I was sleeping like almost none. It was actually like a lot of work and they didn't pay you. It was crazy. Anyway, I found out when I was there that we would have about 1 week of courses, like 1 week of preparing to enter the classroom before we actually entered the classroom. So they talked about how to make a lesson plan. They talked about how to effectively lead a classroom, how to manage a classroom, how to manage classroom discipline, how to get people to understand what you're saying. After that 1 week, you can listen to as many lectures as you want about how to discipline a classroom, but there's nothing quite like actually being in the classroom to learn that. Let me tell you about my first day. And it was actually in the poorest and the lowest income county in Mississippi. It was called Quitman County. And so we woke up at 5 a.m. that morning. We got on a bus. It was a 1-hour drive. We got there. In the cafeteria, we did this like pre-ritual like song. It kind of felt like a cult a little bit, like to amp us up and get ready to like start teaching. You know what I mean? I got there at the school like 6 a.m. and my first class wasn't until like 8:40. So I just sat down in a little room with a bunch of other teachers. I was just revising my lesson plans and like going over the format and the flow of how I wanted the class to go. And I remember, I kid you not, some teachers, they would walk into the room that I was in. No joke. They looked like the war emotes. You know that like the war emote that's in Twitch? Their faces looked like they had just seen war. And they'd like come in and like, they'd be like, oh my God, good luck. Honestly, like in hindsight, it was pretty funny, but I just remember being like, Jesus Christ, like what am I about to walk into? And my first class was third graders, AKA a bunch of 8-year-olds. And I remember being like, if they're all 8 years old, like how bad can it be? So finally, when it was about 5 minutes before my first class, I prepared as much as I possibly could. I remember I walked in and there was a woman that was teaching the kids that I was about to start teaching. And I remember I walked in the door and it was like that scene from the Hoosiers. I don't know if you guys ever seen that basketball movie. The coach is like amping himself up to like go walk out into the basketball court, like for his first ever basketball game that he's coaching. And he opens the doors and like you can hear like from the outside, like you can hear like and then he opens the door and like all the cheering just erupts and it's so loud and like the pep rally band is playing or whatever. And like that's what it felt like. I remember I was outside of the classroom and like I could hear like screaming on the inside. I opened the door and I was just met with like just a wave of like like just the kids were just going crazy. The teacher that I was friends with was like at the front of the room like, oh, class, okay, come on guys, pay attention here, pay attention. And they were all just like, Some of the kids were like definitely fighting, like fist fighting. They were just going crazy. There was 5 minutes left and she was like literally having a battle. Like she was actually at war. It was hilarious. In hindsight, it was hilarious. At the time I was like, oh my God. So I sat in the back of the class and just like took out my laptop and was like getting my PowerPoints up. And no joke, for the entire 5 minutes that I was there, it was just her trying to quiet the class down. No learning was taking place. So I was watching this and then it was my turn. So I walk up there and it's actually funny, guys. It's actually funny because when kids see a new teacher, they will give you about 10 seconds of respect until they can sense that you don't deserve their respect. So I got up there and they sat down. They were in their seats and they were quiet and they were like looking at me. Like 15 different 8-year-old eyeballs were just waiting to hear what I would say and waiting to hear exactly the type of teacher that I would be. And I started going, hi, I'm your Spanish teacher. Let's start talking about a little, like some disciplinary stuff, or let's start talking about my expectations that I have for you guys. After about 10 seconds, they realized that they could just like walk all over me because I was a new teacher. And they almost instantaneously started to do the exact same thing that I just was watching happen. And like, I'm not gonna lie, I was able to teach a little bit. Like I was able to get them to say like, hola, and ¿Cómo estás? Muy bien, ¿y tú? Like I was able to get them to actually say like some introductory stuff. But like I had like a 30-minute time slot and that's all we covered. And to be honest, the whole lecture was a blur. I like blacked out. Like my fight or flight was activating. I know that it's 8-year-olds we're talking about, but I remember just like 95% of my brain power was focused on just like trying to engage everyone. And I went back to the same study hall area that all the teachers were preparing in. And I just sat down in a beanbag chair. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. That was an actual thought that crossed my mind, let alone be a teacher for however long I'm going to be a teacher. I didn't know how long I was going to be a teacher at that time. But I got over it, guys. You see the worst of it. You get over it. You adapt. You learn. And no joke, by the end of the summer, I loved that class. And I think they liked me too. By the end of the summer, I was like having like most of the kids come up and like sing songs in Spanish. Buenos días. Buenos días. ¿Cómo estás? ¿Cómo estás? Yo estoy bien, y tú. And like one girl volunteered to sing the song and she came up to me on the last class of the day and she was like, oh, and like if you come back next summer, like I can't wait to show you how much Spanish I've learned. Like they didn't know that like the teachers only are there for one summer and then they never come back. But she was like, yeah, next summer, like I can't wait to show you all this, like all the new Spanish that I've learned and like I really hope to see you. But so like it was a great experience because like it started like really bad and then it just got a lot better. because you adapt to it. And then from then on, for the rest of my teaching career, what I learned from that crash summer course is I was so scarred by that first class that I had. I remember so vividly that feeling that I had of like, oh shit, I don't know if I can do this. And I was so scared of that happening again that every single first class that I had, I would be so unbelievably strict and call out every single thing that I didn't like. So like if someone was whispering, I'd be like, hey, sorry, I can't think when you're doing that. I'm gonna need you to like, can you wait till after class to do that? And it worked. It worked because everyone thought that I was a hard ass and everyone thought that I was like really mean. But then like after like 2 weeks, you like start to let yourself smile and you start to like actually show your sense of humor. Well, I had one class that was pretty hard to manage, but by the end of the year, I ended up loving them too. So that philosophy really worked for me. If you start super strict, it's so much easier to maintain that than it is to be like, yeah, guys, I'm the cool teacher, you know? I'm not gonna discipline you guys. I'm cool, you know? If you do that, the kids will walk all over you. Like they will say you're one of their favorite teachers, but they know that they can walk all over you. What are the chances one of them is in chat now? Not to spoil anything, 3 of them have stopped by and typed something in chat before. And they're like government naming themselves, which, whatever.